What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, the official Cliffy J, and I'm back with another video. And today, I'm gonna be giving you guys my season ranking for Big Brother Canada. As you guys know, I'm doing a whole bunch of rewatches in preparation for my Big Brother US season ranking, and I got a plethora of videos for you guys to get us through this time. And this is one of those. This is based off my personal enjoyment of the season. Y'all know I'm usually looking at the level of gameplay, like how entertaining the season was, how well I connect to it, and things like that. The basic metrics of personal enjoyment, obviously. But y'all know I care a lot about the journey, but the outcome does matter. It can't be a winner that I feel like is not deserving. I can't. Now, I'm not saying that isn't obviously I've had seasons where a winner wasn't deserving, in terms of who they're going against. And I still was like, man, this is a good season. Usually because the winner was still a decent winner. And it's like you still are a deserving winner in the sense of you played a pretty good game. But let's go ahead and get into this ranking. And at number 12, I've got BB Canada 8. And I've got BB Canada 8 this low for obvious reasons. All the issues they were having leading to an expulsion and things like that. And the fact that it was cut off so early in the season because of COVID, it's not really one I can assess the same way I can assess the other one. So I've got it at number 12. And at number 11, I've got BB Can 4. And for me this season is one of the more forgettable ones. I would argue that the season was solid to start until about the fake double eviction week when Kelsey's in the game and Kelsey's in the game, back into the game, and honestly, dumb fake evictions are just stupid in general, in my opinion. And she was able to ruin Mitch's game at that point. When at that point he was cooking, and he was also bringing most of the entertainment to the season, especially from an individual strategic player perspective. And Nick and Phil and Kelsey pretty much kept winning towards the back half of the game. So Tim's positioning that he didn't really even get for himself, but he came from Kelsey coming back in the game didn't really matter because he wasn't able to control anything because he couldn't really win as much. Well, as much, no, he couldn't really win against them. So they were able to kind of dominate the back half of the game based off of competition wins, not being good players because none of them were really good players. Tim essentially quit at the end. So not even essentially, he didn't even study, didn't try, knowing what the challenge was gonna be, didn't give it 100%, whatever you want to say. So the season kind of fell off after Mitch went home. And I would say the cast was just pretty pretty boring overall. The winners. The winner isn't great. And even just them being able to play as one also is kind of stupid to me. I don't know. This season's just one of the more forgettable, one of the dumber ones. I would definitely say it's the worst out of the seasons that actually were able to play out fully, I would say. And that's saying a lot. And at number 10, I actually have season 6. And people say that it was a completely inaccurate edit. And I actually didn't get to watch the feeds from this season. I wasn't watching BB Can during BB Can 6. And that does have a skewed perspective for me versus what some people would think of a lot of these seasons, but it is what it is. I haven't watched the feed, so I don't know that it was just some great, amazing season. Didn't love the season. From the jump, it was pretty obvious that, and I know you can't really say that with Big Brother, but that's just kind of the vibe you get that Kayla, Paris, and Derek would make it to the end and they would have upper hands over most of the players, dealing with these players that I felt like were idiots. Like I liked Ali, um, I liked Erica, the Veronica backdoor was cool, was entertaining or whatever. Like I just didn't love Derek and Kayla. And I don't know, man. This season just reminds me of BB 22 or BB 9, just based off the edit. Like something about it just had bad vibes. Hamza was cool though, like on the season, just on the season, Hamza was cool. And at number 9, I've got season 11. And I ain't even gonna lie, this is the only season that when I was watching, I actively stopped watching the season. So obviously my opinion's gonna be kind of skewed. My sister watched the entire season, and I was eventually able to go back and kind of rewatch and not really rewatch the whole thing, but I kind of rewatched the middle portion that I skipped out on. It's not that bad. Like it does seem bad, and at points it is that bad. But overall, it had like some messy power shifts, heavy in the drama category. The gameplay was shaky, and it's the type of season that didn't really enjoy live that much. So I'm not the biggest Thai fan. I'm happy that the brother won, but not the biggest Thai fan. But in terms of a rewatch, this season has major levels of rewatchability, which is why I'm gonna go ahead and have it this high on the list. But it was a lot of things during the season I didn't like. Wasn't the biggest fan of majority of the cast. I liked Kuzi though. I liked Kuzi. I like Santina. But that's really it, bruh. And at number 8, I've got BB Can 1. And obviously, this season dealt with a little bit of growing pains, but I enjoyed the East Coast Alliance. I enjoyed the dom. Not saying I was just their biggest fan or whatever, but I just enjoyed the dominance. I like dominance from players that are clearly playing, self interested. It seems like that's kind of the vibe I got from them. Alex villain arc definitely did carry a part of the drama. Like this season wasn't amazing in any regard, but I think it was a solid season overall. Topaz's vote, it's like it's weird for me because I don't think Gary should have beat Jillian, but I see why. Obviously, she didn't have great jury management, but at the same time, Gary should have won because he had the votes to win. And that's kind of one of those where I know Jillian, I feel like played a better game, but Gary probably should have got the win. So that's a weird one right there. And at number 7, I've got season 7. I know a lot of people would actually have this season lower because of the Pretty Boys domination, and I didn't really mind that as much. I like most of the Pretty Boys. I think they were the more entertaining players on the cast. I think they were the best players on the cast, and definitely it was good to watch. I enjoy watching great players cook. And that's definitely what we're able to see here. And Dougie is a really interesting player to watch. He's probably my second favorite player in BB Can history. So of course, I'm a tad bit biased, but Dane is also one of my top 5 favorite players. Like definitely very likable. Maybe not, the most exciting, but he is a very likable player, very likable presence. And though the Pretty Boys dominated essentially the entire season, Kyra winning the final 5 HOH did add a little bit of sauce, even though it still ended in the most boring possible way. It's just this is a season that I don't mind cutting on or rewatching, just because I enjoy watching Dougie cook. I enjoy watching the Pretty Boys as an alliance. So it's a pretty solid season, but I definitely can see why people don't like it and think it's just boring. And at number 6, I got season 3. In my opinion, Godfrey was obviously robbed. Sarah and Brittany were heavily assisted by twists. The triple eviction was crazy. Zach probably wins without a lot of these twists, which is genuinely a nightmare scenario. I wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of these players on the cast, but I mean, people like Bruno, as I even said, like people like Brittany, people like Sarah, Godfrey, Kevin. I feel like they kind of carried the season in a certain aspect, and I think that they did give us a good product in terms of just overall entertainment. They were playing hard. They were made like this cast played extremely hard, and so I gotta give them credit for that. And I have to put them at a decent spot on the list. I'm gonna lie them right here at number 6. But they could easily be higher on the list. Just this season doesn't have as much aura as the next couple seasons, and the twists were crazy. The twists were crazy. Like it got to a point where I was cheering for like Sarah, Brittany, and other players like that, but it just got and obviously Sarah making such a dumb decision getting rid of Willow. But same with obviously Brittany nominating her. But it's like I was cheering for them, but at the same time, it's like you guys are not great in terms of like the gameplay you guys are choosing to take, and you guys are getting assisted by all these twists and powers and stuff. Like it's hard to cheer for that, and then it's nobody to really cheer for to a certain extent. And at number 5, I know this one's gonna surprise some people. I got BB Can 10. Kevin Jacobs' mid to late game control was probably the most impressive gameplay in BB Can history. It's definitely arguable, but probably the most impressive gameplay in BB Can history. Solid cast, honestly. I liked Herman, Betty, Summer, Moose, Tynesha. Like, I liked a lot of the players on the cast. Strong boots too. They had some strong wheats, the Jess boot, Marty boot, Helena boot, the Tynesha boot, obviously. Herman boot. Like it was some strong boots on there. I just was a little checked out late game because I like when I'm cheering for an alliance and then they don't do their thing, they don't get to the end, or they start getting dominated or start making bad decisions, I start getting checked out. And then when Josh was doing what Josh was doing, I'm like, all right, bro, I'm done. I'm done. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. I obviously watched it because I wanted to watch what Kevin was doing because he was playing a crazy game that you got to give somebody credit for. And you got to, like, it almost makes me like Kevin a little bit. Cause I'm not the biggest Kevin guy. And I don't got any hate towards the guy. But it almost makes me like Kevin a little bit, even though he was opposing the players that I like the most. Because obviously I was Team Herman all the way. You feel me? I was Team Summer. Um, I was Team Moose. You feel me? So obviously we couldn't really rock with Kevin like that, but at the same time, kind of just can't take your eyes off because you see somebody just like controlling the game without winning HOHs and stuff. It's just extremely impressive, and it has to be accredited. I want to have the season higher, and I don't think it's a bad season at all. I assume people think it's such a great season, but when your faves start getting cooked and start doing dumb stuff, it's hard to love a season. And at number 4, I got BB Can 2. And this season is kind of game body, but like in a good way. Some of the better gameplay in the early BB Can season, specifically John and Netta, obviously Allison, kept the season interesting for the most part. The season had blind sides. It had a twist that certainly altered the trajectory of the season. And it ended with like, a little bit of a blind side with John cutting Netta to win the game. And it's really just like a consistent season overall. Obviously, it's certain things I can exactly point out that made certain shifts, but in general, most of the credit I think for the strategic gameplay and what went on the season should be given to Netta. I think she played a really strong strategic game on this season, and I see why she was a fan favorite at the time. I didn't obviously watch it live, but when I watched it, she was certainly her and John were my two favorite players on the cast. So definitely got to give this season a lot of credit. The first time I watched it wasn't that long ago; it was just like a couple years ago, and then I just recently rewatched it, and I thought it was a really good season. And at number 3, I've got season 12. And I genuinely debated putting this at number 1. I know it sounds crazy. I don't really know people's actual opinion on the season. I think the worst part of the season is the fact that it was a little bit predictable until the later stretch. Probably it's about the final 9, final 8, like, it was kinda predictable, and the fact that Dougie was kinda in survival mode for a little bit of that middle portion when Spicy V and the girls had the numbers, I didn't love that because I love, Dougie domination, it's usually better, and I think this is honestly one of the most average seasons of Big Brother, which shows how much better to me Big Brother US actually really is, low key, for me personally, just my personal enjoyment. That was the perfect match, though, in terms of captains, like veteran players. Dougie, a really good player who's pretty serious, and Spicy V, a great character who isn't viewed as serious, but given the right situation, she can play pretty well. And she was given that great situation, and she really just did that. She kind of ran a lot of the game, especially in terms of just agency and positioning. She definitely was in a power position for almost the entire game. But this season was filled with standout moments for me. Vivek taking out Dennis and then literally being taken out in his face the next week. Dougie and Lexus turn hot chocolate on Kayla. Spicy V's blow up. Dougie actually winning comps. Like this season had a lot of stuff that I personally liked and that I had a lot of personal connection to and that I enjoyed that made me really, really like the season. The only reason I don't have it higher is because I don't want to be having recency bias. But this might be my favorite season of BB Can. It's definitely arguable. And at number two, I got BB Can 5. And this is a solidified one. This is a solidified one. It's easy to glaze BB Can 5, especially as someone that came into the season as a Ica fan and a Kevin fan. You feel me? So, and a Netta fan. I came into the season ready to, and a Bruno fan. So I came into the season ready to eat good. And I was able to they were important players the entire season. Obviously, Ika able to get back on net and get her out of the game, and that was obviously the most pivotal probably move of the season. Not too long after that, Kevin, starts his comp streak. And Kevin studied that comp streak. That wasn't like a fluke. It was a fluke comp streak, obviously, because you don't know what the comps are going to be. You don't know who you're going to be going against. But he studied the comps and was able to dominate the comps. Obviously, him versus Demetrius late game was a great rivalry. It is the driving force of why I enjoyed the season so much, alongside with obviously Ika's particularly impressive gameplay, especially when you compare it to her first season. It was very impressive. And yeah, no, it's a lot about this season alike. Doesn't really have many dull weeks. Like I think it might have been an early week that was like not great, but I feel like every week it was something going on. Obviously, you had players like Karen and Dylan that wasn't playing great, but they were like in their mind playing optimal because riding with Kevin could have been a death sentence. You feel me? I guess in some capacity, but it was also Ika, working her magic and things like that. But just at the end of the day, Kevin being able to do what he did. Usually, I'm not the biggest fan of like seasons where it's predictable because it's predictable for Kevin to win when he was winning as much as he was. But I am a person that like I liked Mike Holloway season. I'm a person that loves when someone's like on the bottom and then wins and wins and wins, especially when I like both sides. It ain't like I was hating the other side, like, no, Dika, Demetrius lose. Nah, I was good with either side winning. So I came out on top regardless. And at number one, I've got BB Can season 9. And just so you guys know, this is actually the first season of BB Can that I watched. And it was the first one that I watched like live too. So I wasn't watching feeds actually much. I was only like tuning in, checking like tweets and things like that, watching the clips. So I wasn't actually watching, just like when I was watching BB24. Like I was watching 23, and I even watched a lot of so like BB23. I mean, same thing. Like I was only watching clips for the most part and stuff like that for these seasons, and BB Can 9 is one of the least twist affected seasons in the history of BB Can. It wasn't a steamroll, but the likable players still came out on top. The players that play, like every player played. I was about to say the players played, which led to alliances being set up, relatively early in the game. You had the Sunsetters and the Oddballs. You had Kiefer, who was super loyal to the Sunsetters, but also trying to play the middle a little bit. Kiefer also is my favorite player on the cast and arguably my favorite player in BB Can history. Probably my favorite player in BB Can history. Arguably the best player on the cast. Got to watch my boy do a lot. He was a person that executed the Jetson trap down plan. And then you also had Tyshawn, who had a super strong end game. And that made this one of my favorite end games, watching the brother do his thing, obviously. And this is definitely my favorite end game of BB Can, 100%. But overall, really good season, good winner, good pre-jury, good post-jury. Like it was just a good overall season. It wasn't boring. It wasn't like where one side had all the domination. So it has all the qualities of a great season. Nothing really negative I can point out. It definitely will be in conversation for a top tier BBUS season. I just got to get down to my list and stuff like that. Maybe one day I'll do a North American season ranking for Big Brother if y'all want to see that too. And that is the end of today's video, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Push the notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new lit banger. Peace.